YouTube.com/That's Rank. One of my favorite YouTube channels happens to be out of Ottawa, happens to be a guy that I've known for a good number of years who is a lover of all things as it pertains to food, especially the freakiest foods. Hi, Chris Father Gilbrown.
Hello, John Milky. And it's not just freaky foods. I'm a lover of all things, you know, the preparation of food, the people from which it came. So let's focus on that today, because this past Sunday was not only Father's Day, but it was also Juneteenth, which is a relatively new American federal holiday starting last year, as you're likely well aware. But Juneteenth is the anniversary of the announcement by the Union Army General Gordon Granger announcing the freedom of the enslaved people in Texas all the way back in 1865.
Yep.
And the purpose of the holiday is to celebrate African American culture. And you know me a little bit. You know that I've got such admiration for the culture because we've talked in depth about the fact that I'm a crazy barbecue snob. And much of what I've learned has actually come from years of trial and error from black cooks in the southern United States. And many Juneteenth celebrations feature soul food sort of front and center. So soul food is considered whole, hearty, slow-cooked dishes. And while we like to proclaim that it was cooked from the heart to justify the long times, the fact is that they sort of had to do it that way because soul food was developed from the food that was left over for the blacks to live on, because it was generally the lesser desired cuts of meat and vegetables.
Right.
So like a brisket or pork ribs back in, say, the 1800s, it's fatty, it's tough, and you can't just throw it over a fire and be eating it an hour later. However, through necessity comes resiliency, and it was discovered if you cook it at a really low temperature, the fat would render out, the muscles would become fork tender, and a hell of an amazing meal was waiting for you, which is where the development of soul food ultimately came from.
Okay.
Necessity. So, with that said, some of the things they enjoy today are prosperity meals, which are about celebrating good luck and wishing the best moving forward. So you've got dishes like black-eyed peas, collard greens, cornbread, cabbage, and sweet potatoes. Again, you'll note that the things like the black-eyed peas and collards often take a lot of cooking time, and the leaves of the collards are so thick and fibrous. I don't know if you've ever cooked them before, John, but they're massive. Yeah, they're giant leaves, and you can't just throw them into a saute pan and be eating 20 minutes later. You're never going to be able to bite through that because it really is a super fibrous leaf. You've got to cook it down. But stewed in a pot of pork broth with some ham hocks for hours and hours and hours, it becomes a soft, salty, outstanding vegetable side dish. I love collards. They're so hard to come by in Canada, but sometimes you'll see them fresh at Metro of all places, and I'll be more than happy to grab my hands on some. Cut them up with some scissors right down the giant vein in the middle of the leaf. Toss it in a pot, and 4 or 5 hours later, there you go. There's your vegetable side dish. Another staple that they've got is fried catfish. Catfish are plentiful in the South. You know, those mud cats and pollywogs. They weren't a desirable fish way back when. But if it turns out, if you fillet them, throw a little bit of breadcrumb on them with some Cajun seasoning, hot damn, son, you pair it with some hush puppies and some fried okra, and you're going to be feeling like a king tonight. So,
when I was a kid, I caught a catfish, and it was the first time at the lodge we used to stay at. It was a family place to hang out. It was hell on earth getting this catfish reeled in, number one, because most of it was just sunfish and perch and pike and whatever else. And they're like, we never see catfish around these parts. Anyway, they cooked it up for me, and they're like, you're not going to like this. And it's a very different fish.
It is. It's definitely got a different meatiness, flakiness to it compared to a lot of other things, although certainly better than the sunfish, John. I'm glad that you guys threw those.
It is. Yes, it is.
Unless you're looking to swallow nothing but bone. But anyway, for Juneteenth, we did ribs, cornbread, and collard greens celebrate the day here, and it was all fantastic. Cool. So thank you to the folks who found the patience and the skills to teach me generations later how to make magic with those cuts of meats that once would have been tossed away. So bravo to you. Happy Juneteenth to everybody who celebrates the day.
Someday I'm going to have you teach me the secret to brisket, because I'm just catching on to what that is, and I really need to try that. Chris Father Gilbrown, always with great advice as it comes to food and great insight as well. Do give his YouTube channel a subscribe, costs you nothing, and that means you get the latest episodes and the notifications for them right there on your phone, your tablet, etc. YouTube.com/That's Rank.